Conor McGregor is a special kind of person. Now, I want you to follow me on this. You got to follow me because we're going to build up to how he ends up in a place like this. Conor McGregor is a very special person. Back in 2011, I walked into a mixed martial arts gym in Erdington. I walked into this gym because I wanted to get back into boxing and et cetera, et cetera. When I walked into this gym, there were hundreds of guys that were training there. They were all training this sport that I had never heard of, to the point where guys who were working in the gym would sometimes have jobs outside of the gym, finish that job, come to the gym, train, and then conduct a class. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. No, I couldn't believe the level of dedication to this sport that nobody watched. Like, it was a very niche sport. Nobody knew nothing about this sport. These guys were grinding. Now, a character came into the sport, and this character, it's almost the same as, and hear me out, folks, back in the day when people talk about before Christ, they call it BC. They call it BC. They'll be like, 1,000 years BC. That's how monumental Christ's impact was on the world, that they have a thing BC. Now, don't get this thing twisted, folks. I'm not in no way, shape, or form comparing Conor McGregor to Christ. But what I'm saying is, in an MMA lens, the fighters look at it like before Conor and after Conor. You know why? Because before Conor, it was a hobby to most of these guys. Unless you were the absolute elite of the sport, you weren't making great money.
No.
Conor came into this thing, and from a small team in Ireland, Conor was able
SBG.
He was able to build himself to the UFC, where he was able to change the sport forever. Conor McGregor made mixed martial arts what it is today. A lot of people don't like hearing that, but on a popular level, Conor McGregor did this. Now, along the way, people have to understand what type of investment Conor represents to not only MMA, but the other things that he is involved in.
Yes.
One thing I will note is that when you watch Conor in the early days fighting, it was a sea of Irish flags.
Come on.
Now, for those of you who ain't familiar with the States, Boston, huge Irish community, to the point there's people there that have never been to Ireland but speak with an Irish accent.
Come on.
New York City, major Irish community there. This pushed the sport to a level that no one has seen before. Now, what that meant is Conor represented a huge investment for the UFC. This is a company that is worth billions today.
Yes.
They weren't worth it at that time, or not as much as it is now. So with that being said, he was able to get away with a lot, man. Let's go through. We're just going to do some brief things. Noble, you'll go into more detail. But the way I spoke to people, for me, I would say the number one thing, and I don't even think I need any more examples, is the build-up to the Khabib fight.
Oh, gosh.
This guy went low. He spoke about family. He spoke about religion. He spoke about country. He spoke about all kind of madness, and it was used to push the fight. Now, what this did is it built up the character we see today, who was able to was able to walk around, abuse people, treat people anyhow, because he represents what he represents, not only to MMA, but to Ireland as well. There are people in high places that can turn a blind eye. In Ireland, you're dealing with a man who is powerful. Like, you can't go against this guy. They ain't going to be like, yo, we're going to sell out our guy. They're not going to do that. They'll give him a few chances, which he's had. But it's got to the point now that he's become unruly, Noble, and they can't control him. And that's based off of what he's been able to get away with because of what he represents. Now, even with this case, let's get into the case. This is rape. And even the backlash has been nowhere near the backlash of allegations from other people. Like when you listen to people, that aggressive tone, I've seen people on live streams that have just got a zero tolerance approach when they hear certain things. But with this one, it was, oh, well, we don't know. I'm like, what do you mean we don't know? You've been found guilty. Oh, but it was only civil. Yeah, but tell the people the truth. Tell the people that the girl tried to make this criminal first and it was thrown out. And then she took it civil. Now, Conor, it's sad because this is a guy who could have been monumental. Like I'm talking, this is a guy who could have been the biggest thing ever. And I'm talking about after the fact as well.
The dross of the population, they got their head in the sky or in the sand. As far as they're concerned, Conor McGregor is the man. There's obviously any serious person would obviously question all of what we've initially discussed, and then in regards to his fighting capabilities and career, you know, he hasn't fought in quite some time. There's no getting away from the horrific aftercare that Nikita Hand had to endure via the surgeons having to remove things from her. There's no getting away from it. There's no getting away from some. And as I hypothesized, Mark, and I'll hypothesize again. The only way I see this not being, forced sex is based upon the medical reports and all that. Is she was out of her brains on alcohol and other illicit substances, and things just happened and it wasn't uncomfortable, etc., etc. The chances of that are slim to none. They're slim to none, but it's a possibility. We have to put that out there. And then another thing is Nikita. Was this the first time she had met Conor? Is she linked to Conor in any way? There is links, there is ties. Again, as you said, she's got a boyfriend. So she's got a boyfriend. Nikita's got a boyfriend. And the boyfriend has supported her throughout the whole of this 4-year ordeal. I listened to some of her commentary outside of the court after receiving only a minuscule £206,000, which equates to €248,603 for 4 years of all of this, for goons turning up at the doorstep. We're talking about someone being, what's that? Aggravated bodily harm, ABH. That's ABH, that is. Aggravated actual bodily harm. Blood was on his birthday suit, not from a punch, from weaponry. Right? We had another case. Do you remember Corsica and a yacht, and the woman fleeing from that yacht and getting picked up by the Coast Guards? Well, mysteriously, Mark. Mysteriously. Some people would say it's a coincidence. I think that's a made-up word, which means nothing. But strangely enough, post this happening, her car is petrol bombed, sibling. We've got a layer of protection. We've got media. We've got the conglomerate of UFC. We've got the country of Ireland, who are like, we've got to run interference to a point because this is a street. Look at tourism. Ireland is on the map.
Yeah, man, definitely.
More on the map. He's doing a lot. He's doing a lot, and unfortunately, guys, money talks, and everything else is put to the side. If he wasn't generating an income, do you really think, not just an income for himself, but for hundreds of people, possibly thousands of people to eat off the back of all of these individual endeavors outside of the MMA and UFC promotion? This is highlighting multiple things. As we know, this realm that we live on, this wonderful, beautiful realm that we live on, it's run by wicked people. It's as simple as. And justice is kind of done of sorts, but it's going to be swept under the rug. This pitiful that 206,000 should be a year for a period of time, or just multiply it by 10 times 10. That's your payoff. We're really sorry. You shouldn't have had to endure that stuff. You shouldn't have had to relocate based upon the after effects of this. Yeah, it's nuts, Mark. Absolute nuts.
A man was able to get away with numerous things, because you got to think, the average man if he goes through an allegation once, you ain't gonna hear no allegation over him ever again because he's gonna know how to move. But Conor understands that he's got a layer of protection, so there's certain things he can get away with. You see what I mean? And the press, this is what I'm saying. This is what people don't see. There's a difference in outrage. If you look at the details of that case, you're not hearing no, where's all these angry people, where's all these angry channels
Where's
that
the
are
feminists?
about?
Where's the feminists?
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. All these people that are calling to cancel this man, that man, this man, every time an allegation, Noble, an allegation, where's the heavy coverage? And if you look at the type of coverage, it's the type of coverage that it should be normally, where there's no like heavy opinions given or people just relay the information. It's not the same like that for everyone else. It's almost like you said, they've already got an angle, and you know what the angle is? He's appealing. So yeah, he's been found guilty in a civil court of law, but he doesn't accept that and he's appealing. End of story. Whereas when it's other guys who are like, yo, I didn't do this or A, B, or C. You look at that Jonathan Majors.
Sure.
Look at the press that case got. Let's really get into this thing, man. Look at the coverage, people, that Jonathan Majors got. The man didn't do, I say it now, right? That man didn't do anything, man. He didn't do anything. You could clearly see in the video, he's running away, tried to save his career. They found him guilty based on the fact that the press found him guilty. You know what's happened now, Noble? She has dropped her civil case against him. She's dropped her civil case against the man. She's already mashed up the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Come on.
We're never going to get to see what Kang would have been. We're never going to get to see it. Completely damage the man because this was a trend at the time. This was a trend.
Come on.
Let's really talk. This was a trend to just put heinous things on a man. Just, yo, this man did this. You know that if you're with a man and it mashes up, you know, yo, I can throw this over his head. That's what happened. The coverage that he was given. Now, I understand. I get it. A lot of men are like, yo, he should have never been over there in the first place. Accountability. I get that. People, I understand that. Because I'm someone who pushes that as well. However, there was video proof of the man running away. She has now dropped her civil case. You know why? Because there is no case. The man lost his career. It's never coming back. He lost his career. Imagine what he had to go through mentally. Mentally, you know, he has to put on a brave face even with the press because of how strong the feminist movement is in regards to those allegations. But Conor McGregor, where's that same coverage? Where's that same outrage that people had for a man who was running away from a woman? This is the mainstream media, people. This is today's influencers and all that. They just go with the narrative.
Yep.
This guy lost his whole career based on some lover's tiff. I'm going to say it as it is.
Yeah, exactly what
it was a lover's tiff. You scrambling for a phone because you don't want her to see whatever's going on in your phone is not domestic violence, people. That's what you call a lover's tiff. That should have been kept out of the public and the man should still have his career, but it was not given the same grace. Conor McGregor, you actually see a video of him going into a bathroom with a woman who then said she was assaulted.
Come on.
There is medical professionals who have said that medically she was assaulted, like based on the research that they've did, you know, with all the things that we said.
All over her body mark,
all of that,
breasts, scratches, or listen. There again. Look, we look at both sides. People are into, you know, very interesting things when the doors are shut. Some people like rough stuff. We can't be immature in that respect. But, you know, we've got to be really reaching, man. We've got to be really reaching because people are basically hypothesizing that she had the link with D already and this was some money grab. So this was an elaborate plot to get money out of him. So what you're saying is she was friends with D. Her and her boyfriend was like, yeah, you know what? Make that relationship better and see if you can actually link Conor in a sexual kind of relationship, yeah? And then once you've done that, just cry rape. Come on, man. I mean, there are some sick people out here. Let's not get that twisted. But how far-fetched is that? How would that even manifest in the physical realm? How it is now? And then 4 years down the later, she tries to do it criminally. It don't work. She does it civilly to get something.
There's questions to ask. There's questions to ask there, Noble, because again, we understand that there are medical reports. But just before we get into that, though, Aisha, big up yourself, man. What your facts? Let me read it out. The media are trying to make black men the face of all sexual perversions and violence. Black men don't have a chance, which is why they shouldn't take these risks. Aisha, that is an absolute fact. However, we shouldn't take those risks. We should not. But to tell all these guys who are thrown into fame, thrown into fortune, thrown into notoriety, how are you going to tell them guys not to take some type of advantage of it? Come on, man. We live in the real world. To tell only our men, yo, you lot can't do that, accountability, A, B, or C. But all these other men, they actually make movies about these guys.
Come on, and celebrate it.
And celebrate them as like he was a charming guy. He could talk a woman out of her knickers.
Ladies' man.
What?
He was a ladies' man.
What? He was a charming man. He could have talked her out of her knickers. I'm like, oh, so he can talk y'all out their knickers. He's charming when he does it. But another man, you put a different label on that man. And this is what I'm saying. I told people from the first Diddy episode we did, I said, people, I'm not saying that this guy ain't a sick, twisted guy, but I'm saying they're going to make him the face of this thing.